Hold on, folks. Oh, DJ, you might be off the hook. Hold on. Guess who's here?
Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's still setting up. And he wore his Why Not Now merch. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue. This is all going to be part one, DJ. This is all going to be part one. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the super chats. We promise. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Knicks fans from all over the world, please welcome Mr. Jonathan Macri. John, the floor. So how was your night, John? Did you have fun?
I think John flew here from MSU.
Yeah.
Cloud 9. I think he got a ride.
I don't know what was the more miraculous thing, that I witnessed what I just witnessed, or that I got a cab.
There you go.
I did get one.
I can show you how to use Uber afterwards. It's okay.
Thank you.
No, go ahead. I want your reaction. Tell us.
So I don't think I've processed what we saw yet. I saw it. I know I saw it. I was there. I saw it happen in real time. And I saw it unfold, but I don't believe that it happened yet, because that doesn't happen to the Knicks. That happens against the Knicks, or that happens when you're watching other teams, in big moments, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just saw that. Wouldn't it be cool if I got to see that happen to my team or with my team? And it never does. And I'm like, it's been, how long has it been? It's been whatever it's been, 40, you guys have been on for 42 minutes. I'm still legitimately in a state of shock, because I don't believe what I just saw. And it's funny. I just walked into my apartment building, and this was not there when I left. But what was waiting for me when I walked in? Why not now? Like I was talking to somebody else who was at the game about it, and it's like you need one of those wins. You need one of those games if you're going to make a run, right? Like, how often do we see teams go on a long run and get a game like that somewhere along the way that they were not supposed to get? And this team, 10 different ways from Sunday, they weren't supposed to win this game, which I'm sure you guys have already talked about already. So I'm kind of jumping in here, because that's the other thing. I'm going to just be honest. I haven't watched you guys since, because I was busy. This is one of those wins where it's like you call your family and your loved ones. I called my brother. I called my mom. I called my dad in Florida. She'd be like, hey, I love you. Want to say, did you see that? This fucking team, they don't get it. They don't understand when they're supposed to be out of it. And they don't understand that there are nights when it is not their night. They just don't understand that. They don't seem to accept it. Like, DJ, I'm like so curious to hear from you, because I can't fully process the fact that team has 2 stars. And we've been going back and forth, and we've talked about it already, about how one of those stars is maybe not 100%. Well, I don't know what percent he was tonight. I'm talking about Embiid. Mm-hmm. Looked pretty good. And then the other guy, who told, I guess, reporters after the game that he was taking an IV before the game. And that's the best playoff game I've ever seen Tyrese Maxey play. It's one of the best games I've ever seen Tyrese Maxey play. They had 2 stars, and both of those stars came into Madison Square Garden and played excellent. You cannot take that away from them. We have 1 star. I mean, I get it. It's a team. It's a capital T team, and that's what the moral of the story is. That's what our takeaway is, right?
That's not usually how it happens. The stars play well, you usually win the game, right?
They have 2. Their 2 played well. We have 1. Our guy, it's been 2 games now, and he still hasn't come up with any of the sorts of efforts. Not efforts is the wrong word. The production, to be very clear, production, because God knows the effort is never lacking with Jalen Brunson, but the production, the execution on the offensive end, at least, has not been there. How do you win that game? In what world do you win that game? You don't win that game. And that's why, like, I don't even know what happened in the last minute. But I know Jalen Brunson, like, it was an Allen Houston bounce in. And then was that Isaiah Hartenstein with the offensive rebound?
After the Maxi turnover, yeah.
Yeah, Maxi turnover, DiVincenzo 3. Hartenstein, who did he block?
Maxi.
Okay, yeah. I blacked out. Sorry.
Well, can you do me a favor? Because sure. I've been to a lot of games. I have never seen anything in person approaching what that was. When that DiVincenzo 3 went down, do you remember anything? The crowd, the sound, what you were thinking, what you were watching? Like, do you remember any of it?
No, I
What do you remember?
I turned to my buddy and I looked at him, and then I just turned around and I think I sank down towards the floor because and again, this is how I work. I'm like, okay, the game's still not over. Like somehow we have this lead, but the game is still not over. And I was just like, I was preparing for anything, but I was also reconciling what I had seen. And so I like went into my own like mental, emotional space for a minute. And it's like, I heard everything was happening around me, but it wasn't it wasn't sinking in. That doesn't make any sense. I apologize. And then and they didn't have a timeout, right? They didn't have a
Philly
timeout.
Didn't have a timeout.
Yeah.
Which, John, Nick Nurse calling that challenge, they didn't have a timeout to call in that moment.
And so, anyway, so like, but wait a minute, no, but Nick Nurse complained that he had a timeout and he was trying to call it, but you're talking about when?
No, that challenge on the Anunoby was his last. Oh, no, that wasn't. No, you're right. He was trying to call in timeout and didn't. You're right.
Yeah, but I'm talking about before.
Well, he would have had 2 if he didn't lose that challenge. Okay. Yeah. But they didn't give him the timeout. They
didn't give him the timeout. Thank God. But in any case, like, because I still didn't believe it was going to happen. I thought maybe it was just going to be that the heartbreak was going to be that much worse. Even the Embiid 3 at the end of the game when it was up. Oh my God, it's going in. We're going into overtime, and then it missed. Like that's just how I work.
Oh, we know.
It's a lot of damage.
We know
a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage in this.
You're hearing for a week and a half how unbeatable Joel Embiid is, and here we are up 2-0 against what looked as a serviceable Joel Embiid.
Look, but I've never.
This is this team.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. And then, sorry, the thing I said I had to say at the top of this, because I know he didn't do a ton in the second half. And like, I don't know. I'm sure you guys already talked about him and gave him his props and the whole thing. Josh Hart,
my player of the game.
Josh Hart. Like, that is... When you have a foundation, when you have a culture, when you have a core, when you have a system of belief, when you're like, this is how we do things, this is the standard. And I know he's a fucking clown. He is the clown. Just go read Fred Katz's article from today. I'm sure you guys have already mentioned it. He is one of one, and for all his flaws, like, JJ Redick said it the best today, right? Like, give me 12 of those guys. And for him to keep them in it in the first half, like, I looked up at the halftime, like, how are they down by 3? I shout out Fred Katz. I saw Fred at halftime. And I'm like, how, like, Brunson's doing what he's doing, Embiid's doing what he's doing, Maxi's doing what he's doing. How are they down by, or whatever, 4 points? And he's just like, Josh Hart. That's it. It was Josh Hart. And I still don't believe what I just saw. Insane. Absolutely insane. Last thing I can say is I 8 points in 8.9 seconds. I will never forget it. Never forget that feeling that day. Never forget, like, man, I feel like I was young at the time. It was on my 12th birthday party. I feel like I felt at the time like I could watch sports for another 100 years. I'd never seen anything like that. and it happened to us against our team. And I was like, man, what are the fucking odds? And I felt like tonight, maybe the basketball gods repaid us, because that's how big that felt to me.
We got one.
Woo! As Tim Bontemps tweets out, the Sixers plan to file a grievance with the NBA over the officiating across the first 2 games of the series. I'm sure they do. Have fun with that.
You don't have to say what you did. Or, I'm singing Cry Me a River. If
yes, I know
where I'm going with this.
My favorite Justin Timberlake song.
Yes, indeed. So there's a super chat in here from the future that you're not going to get to for like hours. But someone wished Robert Cross a happy birthday, I believe, and his birthday's not until the 25th. So I was hoping we'd get some serendipity that the Reggie Miller game was on your birthday, and then this was on Robert Cross's birthday, but it didn't work out. So, Robert, I hope this is an early birthday present for you. The NFL draft is on your birthday. The game 4 is, game 3 is on your birthday. But hopefully the Knicks don't have to win like that in order to give you a moment. DJ Zulo, any other thoughts before we bid you farewell for the night, sir?
No, just that I'm going to sign off. I'm going to turn you guys back on, and I'm just going to soak this in for the next however many minutes, hours you guys are on this thing, because this is the night that we should never forget. You don't get these, as we've talked about, you don't get them often. And when you do, just enjoy it, because it's what sports are supposed to be. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, DJ Zulo.
Coming on, man.
See you guys.
All righty. So hi, John. How are you?
You would have thought that I would have. You would have thought that I would have figured out something more cogent, something more coherent, something more inspiring to say in my cab ride home. I'm just so stunned that happened to the Knicks, that the Knicks did that. And I'm like looking at the box score. I'm like trying to figure out, like, how did they win that game? How did they win that game? And they won the game. Unreal. How are you?
I'm great. The Knicks won again. The series is going how I predicted it would go. Any thoughts on the series? As if you want to, you want just basking right now? Do you want basking right now for now?
Let's get to
people are going to get reckless in the super chat in
that's fine
ways that I don't think you're comfortable with. But
no, listen, man. But like, what is reckless at this point?
Series over.
I am not going to say. Well, no. I mean, look, if you want to think the series is over, that's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, the Sixers could still win this. I mean, look, anything can happen. I mean, the freaking Clippers were down 0-2 they lost both games in LA just a few years ago, and they were going against Luka Doncic, and they came back and they won that series. Like, crazy things happen in the NBA playoffs, but the Knicks have been in existence for 77 years now. This is their 77th season. They've gone up 2-0. I went back and I counted today. I think it was 21 or 22 times, one or the other. They've lost one of those series, and it was Michael Jordan that did it to them. Now, Joel Embiid's very good. Tyrese Maxey's very good. The Knicks they're ice skating uphill a little bit here with how Brunson has been performing, and I believe he will be better. He could play like this for a dozen games, and I will believe he will be better in the 13th game. So that's not saying much, but I think he will be better.
Well, that's what I think is the most encouraging thing if you're a Knicks fan, real quick, because they're getting the Julius Randle series against Atlanta from Brunson, and they've won the first 2 games. They are up in the series 2-0.
I mean, he is 16 for 54 from the field.
55. He was 8 of 29 tonight.
So thank you, 16 for 55.
But that's still like you're off by 1, and that's still an insane number.
And they're 2-0.
They're 2-0.
And like, who had an insane game tonight? I mean, Josh Hart, his first half was insane. And then who was massive in the second half? Like, it was a team effort. It was just a team effort.
Their defense in the second half. Yeah, their defense, like you said, their defense in particular. I thought some of the role players for Philly. Look, I actually don't have like a lot of criticism for like, oh, we were lucky Philly did this poorly. I thought they played a little bit desperate. They played a little bit more disciplined. They clearly made an effort on the boards. They got something from just about every role player. Tobias Harris had some big shots and some big deflections on the offensive glass for Philly. Kyle Lowry did Kyle Lowry things.
You got the 2 Lowry threes. You got the 2 Tobias Harris threes. You got the 2 Nick Batum threes. Like, you got 6 threes from their role players.
Oubre did his thing. Yeah, like all of them had moments in this game.
I mean, I guess maybe the biggest thing is a game after the Knicks had an offensive rebounding advantage of 14 and won by 7. They had an offensive rebounding advantage of 2 and still won. Like, there's no... for as much as it would have been heartbreaking to lose the game because they were up by 7 in the fourth quarter, they had no business being up by 7 in the fourth quarter in the first place. And then, so it's like, and then like you watch the fourth quarter, and again, I don't know how you guys may have already talked about this. I can't really think of a play in the fourth quarter where I'm like, man, that one's really going to come back to eat at me because they should have gotten a better possession out of that, or they should have got a better shot. Like, I trust Brunson, and Brunson's taking shots that he usually makes.
That's the tough part, is that at this point in the series, there's clearly something that's not working, and it's Jalen Brunson doing the things that he normally does to get
He's
shots.
done it all year.
Right. So that's why it's tough to criticism, even if it's warranted. The way they were generating offense tonight was when they were using him as a decoy, drawing help, finding Hartenstein as a floater, generating looks for others. Yeah. And it seemed like he forced it a bit when they made the sub. I didn't even criticize the sub, but the Devo for Deuce sub, it then became, all right, take us home, Jalen. And as a result, he didn't take us home, it looked like, until it's so good that you brought up that the Jalen Brunson bounce on the rim 3, reminiscent of Allen Houston, because then you get the LJ 4-point play on another 3-pointer shot in the Garden, this time by DiVincenzo.
I mean, it's just, look, it's
an unforgettable night. It's one of the nights we're going to remember as Knicks fans forever.
I'll never forget this light as long as I live.
Yeah.
All right. You want to get the super chats?
Let's do it. We got one from before the game.
Okay, let's see what it is. I can't wait. Before the game, there was a time before this game. Knicks Fan Patrol, Embiid needs to sit. The 2019 KD teaches nothing. Yeah, he did not sit. I don't think he's going to sit next game or any game in this series. I think he's going to give us all he has for as long as he can give it. And say this, man, those guys are warriors. Sixers, both of them. Embiid and Maxey, warriors. Thanks, Knicks Fan Patrol.
I should add, this was not before the game. This happened at 10 o'clock, so right before the game ended, where it was like, he's making a joke that like, oh, come on, Embiid, you got to sit. You don't want to pull a KD. You're going to make it worse after watching what you did to us tonight.
I can't believe. I mean, he was awesome. Well, you know what? I say he was awesome. He was 12 of 29. You know,
he had to work for everything, and I thought there were moments where their entire offense was run it through Embiid, and I was terrified every time. He lumbered a lot in the second half. I can't tell if it's because he's hurt or if it's like because of he's out of shape. Like it's a combination of both that he is lumbering through these second halves.
I got to tell you, like,
well, you were live. What did you see?
He's hitting shots. What I saw was the best defense you could possibly play. Anytime he hit a shot, and for that matter, anytime Maxey hit a shot, I was just like, all right, tip your cap. Like I can't think of a shot that either of those guys hit tonight where I was like, man, they blew the coverage, or, you know, maybe there was one early Embiid 3 where it was maybe, I forget which center it was. I apologize, but somebody didn't get out enough. And then so Kevin O'Connor, of course, tweeted about this. Josh Hart was my favorite. Josh Hart played off Maxi on the 3 that put him up by 4. And he was criticizing because like Hart was going over to help on Embiid, which, all right, you want to critique that? Fine. I thought he got back okay, but it was whatever. It was what it was.
But Maxi made a tough shot. It was
Maxi was like insane. Yeah. The guy was awesome.
The Sixers Twitter account tweeted out Maxi with his hands on his knees. But for those who didn't, he tweeted with his hands on his knees, and it was next to the iconic photo of MJ in his flu game. Yeah. The difference is MJ won that game, and that was the finals, a place the Sixers haven't been since 2001. Or past the conference finals, which is something the Sixers haven't been to since 2001.
Yeah, well, anyway.
So we have one super chat from our good friend Chris Carter. It was good to see you, by the way, Chris, at the watch party. This is I believe, the only one that came in before the pandemonium happened.
Okay. This is the first real stretch of adversity that Brunson has faced as a Knick. Really curious to see how he responds the rest of the series. Me too. I think at this point, going into game 3 and going into the rest of the series, like if you're Philly, like what adjustments are you making, right? Like I don't think they need to adjust anything they're doing on the defensive end. I don't think that I don't even know what they would be able to adjust on the offensive end. Like they're getting good shots, like Embiid and Maxi are doing their thing. Like they're making the correct passes when the passes that are being made. Like Embiid, like it's just the weirdest part is like you're down 0-2 and you're like, what would we change? And yet the Knicks are up 2-0. And I think the pivot point in the series that moving forward, granted, Philly needs to win 4 out of the next 5 games to win the series. So it's going to be, that's why I understand any Knick fan who's like the series is over. Brunson, that's the biggest question, I guess. Is there an adjustment that he needs to make? Is there an adjustment that the Knicks need to make? Or is it just the old play better adjustment, which is the most famous adjustment in sports, like play better. I was there. I thought the looks even got better as the night went on. You want to tell me he was forcing them? But it's weird because he's been hitting them all year.
That's why he has earned so much grace that it took until the end of the fourth quarter of game 2 for me to be like, all right, Jalen, you're forcing it a bit. Like I agree with you. He's hit those all year. He's a tough shot maker.
Yeah.
The variance is going that direction at the moment. And I thought they were doing other things that were working. It's not even like a blame Brunson type of thing. There would be nothing that he could do other than he would have to probably murder someone on one of his missed shots for me to be like, oh, Brunson, you can't do that.
Let me say
he has earned the benefit of the doubt.
He's clearly not comfortable on long twos. And he doesn't seem to be all that comfortable on threes. When he's gotten pretty close to the rim, where it's like, even when he's like contorted himself, but when he gets a good look, when he gets a good solid look, like some time to shoot it, and he's close enough to the rim, I feel like those have been the ones that have gone down. I want to go. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to do it tonight. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning. Go back and look at all the shots he's made in this series. I feel like a lot of them have come pretty close, but it's like, how do you free a guy to get those sorts of shots? It's very tough.
Yeah. What's going to suck for Philly, even other than just being down 0-2 and now you're going back home needing to win 4 of 5, is exactly what you're talking about. Maybe those shots start to fall that have fallen all season. Now it's like, oh, now we're not even stopping Jalen Brunson. Maybe we get one of those games. So look, the series I've thought this reminded me of since the beginning is the Boston-Brooklyn series from 3 years ago.
Oh, 4 close games.
It was a 2-7. Everyone was trying to duck. Like Milwaukee literally tried to duck Brooklyn because they didn't want any part of that 2-7. And it led to them getting home court. The Boston getting home court. They didn't duck the smoke and swept after 2 thrilling game 1 victories that were very close down the stretch. The bit of the inverse in that game 1 was a buzzer beater layup from Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And then game 2 was them with a huge fourth quarter comeback. Their only lead of the game being in the fourth quarter. And I thought this series reminded me of that. The Knicks obviously don't have, like, the Miami Heat that year were not what will await the Knicks in the conference finals if they get there. But that type of, these are two seeds facing off, and one team just got their stuff together at the very end of the season, and one team has been a revelation for months now. Yeah. And here we are, up 2-0, similar to that series. We'll see what happens in game 3.